it was a peaceful demo. I was here last week as well. They were saying that, there was anti-Semitism happening, but I was walking side by side with Orthodox Jews, people from the area of Stamford Hill, Finsbury Park, people who stand against a genocide, stand against the Israeli state. And I think people just misinterpret that when we do say, Israel is a terrorist state, we're not saying that we're against the Jewish state. We're saying we're against the regime. We're saying we're against the government. Because if I'm walking side by side and you can walk further down, you'll find Jewish people standing side by side with Muslims, with Christians, with atheists, with it doesn't matter what religion. It's all about humanity at the end of the day. And I think what the Western media has been saying in the past week or so about the protest, it's just not right. It's not the truth.
And what do you think of Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer's response to what's going on in Israel and Gaza?
I completely think it's wrong. They obviously, if I speak freely, I think they have their own agenda. I think they have their own friends and allies. I'd love to understand in terms of, what do they see? Do they even open the news every day? I don't think they do, because if they do, they'll see children being bombed, they'll see children being killed. I'll openly say that what happened on October the 7th was horrific to the Israeli people. But it's what's happened after cannot be justified. What happened even before cannot be justified. This is going back 75 plus years. And I think the West, the UN, the Security Council especially, they're not doing enough to solve this issue. They've been talking about a two-state solution for, as far as I can remember, since I've been reading and following the news since I was young. And I've seen nothing. I've seen nothing but talk, nothing but promises. And I think they need to do more.
Our government has failed time and time again to represent what all these people believe in, which is that Palestinian people need to be free, the civilians need to be protected from the illegal invasion by Israel. And yeah, we're just all really angry, and our government, we're not represented on either side anymore. There's no Conservative representation, there's no Labour representation of people who support this cause, and clearly there are loads of people who do. So we're here using our voice, exercising our right to protest, and telling them what we think, which is free, free Palestine. Western media has constantly weaponized terrorism against Arabs to push them away as somebody who we can feel sympathy for. They like to push this narrative that all Arabs are terrorists, that we don't feel sorry about them when we see these lists and lists of Arabic names. English people can't sympathize with a name like Mohammed anymore because you just consider it to be like the name of someone who's scary, who's someone who we should avoid, someone who we need to sit far away from on the tube. Like, this is entrenched in our society now. It's gotten to the point where we Arabs, Muslims, everyone needs to come out, everyone needs to say, we are people, our people are dying, and we can't take it anymore.
Rishi Sunak, we know that he hasn't got a backbone, but Keir Starmer, he should be standing for working people, decent, ordinary people in this country who stand with Palestinians, and he's shameless, he's absolutely spineless, and actually this is going to shame him, and that's why there's chants at this protest saying, Rishi Sunak, shame on you, Keir Starmer, shame on you, Suella Braverman, shame on you. They are all the same, they are not who speaks for all of these people here. To people who say that this demonstration is in support of terrorists, I ask you to look around. This is the community of Britain. It is completely diverse, it's multiracial, multi-ethnic. We are standing for peace, as are the people in Palestine who want freedom and justice and liberation. And if you oppress a people for so long, and if you crush their peaceful protests for so long, you are going to see people resorting to extreme measures. But we stand for peace. Every single person here wants peace for Israelis, the peace for the hostages, release of all hostages, and peace and freedom for Palestinians as well. Like, that's what we want, peace and freedom and security in the world for everybody, for every single person.
The Gazans have been trapped in their enclave for decades now, and they're very lonely. And I think it's very, very important that all the free people around the world stand up and show solidarity with them. So that's why I'm here. I was on call last night, had to go into the theatre, and that's why I'm here, just in scrubs. Israel is systematically bombing numerous hospitals, not just Al Ahli Hospital. There's a list of hospitals that are being asked to be evacuated, anaesthetists like myself, surgeons, they're being killed by the dozen. So it's really, really important on a secondary scale to show solidarity with the healthcare workers that are being systematically, it's a known strategy in these sorts of situations to bomb the healthcare facilities.
This has been going on for 80 years? And now all of a sudden people seem to care. Like, Palestinians have been dying every single day, and when people are asking for peace, what they're asking for is for Palestinians to go back to dying quietly every day. So they don't need to see it on their feed, so they don't need to see it on the news, so they don't need to feel about it. This has never been peace. This is colonization. This is a people's country being taken from them, and they're being killed to take it. it's not just a dispute about land, it's a dispute about whether Palestinians can exist. And if we don't speak now, and if we don't keep speaking, they won't exist 5 years from now. They'll be an extinct race, and we'll have let that happen. So that's why I'm here.
And what are some of the stories that you've heard from colleagues in Gaza about what's going on in hospitals right now?
I mean, people are literally in the middle of their shift and they're being told that they have to evacuate or they're going to be killed. And they're having to make the decision, do I walk out of this intensive care unit and leave these people to die who are on ventilators, or do I stay and die myself? How is that a choice anyone should face? People are drinking seawater because there is no water, because Israel's cut off the water. That's including all of the medical staff, all of the nurses and doctors and ambulance drivers that are stuck there.
So often, queer people are pitted against Middle Eastern countries, and particularly in Palestine. What I think is often missed out of the mainstream media narrative is that the role that Europe and the West have had in exporting homophobia to the world, the way that we look at queerness and the way that we look at homophobia is from a Western lens. We do not ever talk about the queer history that has a nuance, beautiful history in different cultures embedded throughout the world. We also have to acknowledge that there are lots of queer Muslims in the world that are fighting this fight. And I do not think it is helpful, particularly in the West where so many queer people face violence on a daily basis, to use that as a way to justify violence against the Middle East when it is just simply wrong to pit us against each other, because at the end of the day it is the oppressor that continues to win if we are fighting against one another.
We believe the trade unions have got a real interest in bringing pressure to bear on the political process here. A ceasefire, peace and a just settlement to the conflict. In the RMT we've got a particular interest because, unlike most trade unions in Britain, we have members who are on 2 ships for the Royal Fleet Auxiliary that are stationed now in the Mediterranean. Now they're poised to bring humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, but we've heard the comments from the political class most recently, and we think the rhetoric of unequivocal support for Israeli actions has got to change. We think that the trade union movement has got to become a louder voice in this, so we're calling for the rest of the trade union movement really to up its ante, to put aside any sectional interests they might have in industry, to put aside any political interests they might have with respect to any incoming government, and bring as much pressure as they can bring to bear on the political process to call for peace. We want to see an end to the blockade. We want to see an end to the occupation. We want to see a 2-state solution, a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine, and a just settlement for the refugee question. That's the international law. We often hear the call for a rule-based order, and that is what we've got to see implemented. And as long as the politicians feel that they can get away with the statements they're making without any pressure, this will carry on. I don't think there'll be a peaceful settlement without international pressure. So it's the role of trade unions, the anti-war movement around the world to make their voices heard and let the people in Gaza and in Palestine know that they're not alone and that we're standing with them.
Over the past week, we've seen polls which show that the vast majority of British people want a ceasefire. Why don't you think our government is interested in that?
I mean, our government is just so out of touch, I think, with ordinary people at this point. And they are determined to stand with the United States. They are determined to stand with Israel. They see those as our allies in the region. And they are absolutely not listening to what most people in this country think. I think you're right. I mean, our elite would like you to believe that ordinary people in this country are absolutely with them and that they're speaking for the silent majority. But as opinion polls have shown, they're really, really not. Most people in this country are desperate for an end to this awful violence, as any normal person would be. It's horrific to have to watch this on our TV screens every night and to know that what people are suffering has been created by some of the richest governments in the world, and our weapons and our political support and our money. And I don't think people want to see that at all. So I think what we are doing here is actually representing the majority of people in Britain. And my only hope really is that people in Palestine, people in Gaza will look at these pictures, will see it, and it will give them a tiny bit of strength to deal with the horrific situation that they're going through at this moment. Collective punishment in violation of international law, starving people to death, bombarding people to death. It's horrendous. And most people in this country, I don't believe, want that at all.